Scouting report. Week 2 of the high school playoffs. Small school division. 7 games left, Dave. Let's start in 3A. Columbia is the big monster sitting there. Pittsfield's kind of been under our radar screen. We talked a little bit about that last week. They can run, they throw. They had a good first-round game. They got to go to Columbia this week, though. That's usually bad news.
I knew New Berlin last week, played Columbia to a tie in the first half, 14-14, and then Columbia just took over in the second half. Pittsfield's had a very good season, 9-1 for the first time in a long time, since the 1980s. Devin Johnson, their top running back who had been hurt, he came in late in the game, had some big runs for Pittsfield. I just think, especially going to Columbia, it's going to be a pretty tall task for Pittsfield. Columbia has a really outstanding running game. I think Columbia got to go with the number 1 ranked team in the state.
Number 2 ranked team in 2A is Auburn, and they're home again to play against Marshall. What's Marshall got to offer?
Well, after a long trip, that's the one thing they'll have to offer to get to Auburn. They started 0-3. They're from kind of the far southeastern part of the state. They started 0-3. They do have a very good quarterback who's, I think, passed for about 1,800 yards, rushed for about 700 more. Pretty good team. Obviously, they've got a lot of momentum after a slow start. I think they're really going to give Auburn a challenge, but I think I like Auburn in this game. Their offense seemed to get on track against Havana, and I think Auburn will have enough firepower to hold Marshall off.
Is it safe to call Auburn a young team getting better, or is there a good enough mix of sophomores, juniors, and seniors? I know the quarterback's a sophomore.
Yeah,
they got some
they got some young guys. There's a lot of juniors. There's a lot of juniors that play key roles. So, I guess you could say they're a young team. Hopefully getting better. But they had a lot of experience from last year. So, I think, like I said, I like their chances against Marshall.
The Cinderella story from the State Journal-Register circulation area is Athens. Athens plays in the 2A playoffs, beat Pleasant Plains last week 22-10, and plays against Macon Meridian. And you know who Macon Meridian has, and you know what Dakota wants it, Dakota gets it. Macon Meridian has Dakota gets.
I knew you'd say that. It was irresistible.
You have to.
Yeah. Athens, of course, had a big win against Pleasant Plains last week, sort of the Cinderella Bowl. Macon Meridian's going to come over. Meridian plays in the Okaw Valley Conference. Really tough competition. The likes of St. Teresa, Tolono Unity, Maroa Forsyth. They're 8-2 now. They've played a very a tough conference schedule. Dakota gets the Meridian quarterback. I guess suffered a dislocated finger last week, but apparently he is going to be good to go. He's a big kid. He's thrown for a lot of yards. He's run for a lot more.
He's a 1,000 guy, isn't he?
Well, yeah. And I think he's scored 21 touchdowns, and he's passed for 21 touchdowns. So he's pretty impressive. Athens, they're going to be playing at home. It ought to be a great atmosphere. Athens has a pretty darn good quarterback in Corey Kern. I think I think you have to go with Meridian here, just based on maybe the strength of schedule and maybe a little more experience.
4 games in 1A involving area schools. One of them, the annual playoff meeting between Mount Olive and Tuscola.
Yeah,
they played in the semis, the quarters. Now they're playing in the second round, and this is a little bit different Tuscola team. No Winkies involved coaching or playing quarterback, but they're still a pretty good team.
They're still a pretty good team. They went to Route last week for round 1. I thought Route might have an outside chance of winning that game. Tuscola won pretty convincingly. I think part of it is Tuscola plays, again, in kind of a bigger They're not that far from being 2A. They're just a couple spots below that cutoff.
Pretty good 3-loss team.
Yeah, exactly. Again, they're in that Okaw Valley Conference too, and I think that's probably going to help them in the long run. Just looking at it, Mount Olive, they're 9-1. Their only really bad game was the game they lost to Auburn. But I'm going to have to give the nod to Tuscola just because they're playing at home. I think Mount Olive is going to give them a little better game maybe than Route did, but I think I got to go with Tuscola just on the home field advantage.
Got to defend the pass when you defend Tuscola.
Yeah, you do. You do. Absolutely.
More Cola wars for area teams. Arcola and Concord Triopia. That one's a home game for Triopia, which hasn't lost yet this year.
They're 10-0. Dave Arndt is I think he's maybe approaching a school record for yards gained in a season. I'm not sure exactly where he's at right now.
Jay Wessler's school. That's a pretty good record.
Well, yeah, exactly. A lot of good rushers there. I think, Arcola knocked off another WIVC team, Carrollton, last week. I don't think they're quite as good as they were last year. I'm going to go with Triopia at home. They've got a very good offensive line, tough running game. I think I like Triopia moving on to the third round.
Villa Grove and Pawnee. Pawnee kind of, we had our sights on Pawnee early. They were right out of the box. They were good. They were surprised. They were a Cinderella. Kind of peaked a little bit and then went downhill, but they were good last week in the playoffs, and this is a home game for them. So you got to like what good things can happen for Pawnee.
Yeah. They lost a game against New Berlin at the end of the regular season. Turned around last week, went to Mount Sterling, shut out Brown County 20-0.
Pretty good Brown County team.
Yeah, exactly. And Justin Cole, their top running back, is out for the season with a bad shoulder, but Pawnee got some good contributions from other guys. It is going to be a home game for Pawnee. Villa Grove, though, comes in undefeated, 10-0. They have a running back last name Renfro, who's approaching 2,000 yards. He's scored 31 touchdowns. They don't throw very much, but neither does Pawnee, so it could be a quick game if nothing else.
Okay.
Given again, Villa Grove, they're undefeated. They play in the Little Okaw Valley, but it's still pretty good competition. I'm going to go with Villa Grove in this one. Just they're undefeated and they have an outstanding running back, but I hope Pawnee gives them a really good game.
Greenfield Northwestern travels to Jamaica, Sidell, Salt Fork, blah 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 blah. But that's over in the eastern part of the state, and they're a pretty good football team too. Jamaica
is. They have a quarterback named Leonard. This is a rematch of a second-round game last year. Greenfield won at home last year, I think 12-7, a very defensive battle type of a ball game.
Greenfield's good for those kind of games.
Well, exactly. I think Sidell lost a few of their receivers from last year, but they have their quarterback back, and they've been able to fill some of the holes. They come in undefeated. Again, it's going to be over at Sidell, Jamaica. I think I got to go with Jamaica in that one, or Salt Fork, whatever we want to call it. But I think just the fact that it's on the road, Greenfield's done well, even though they've had some injuries. But I think just the Salt Fork, the home field advantage, is going to help them this game.
Remember, you have to win 5 to win the state championship. They've only won 1 so far. We'll be back next week with more Scouting Report on www.sjr.com.